When the U.S. declared war on Spain in 1898, President McKinley needed a launching point for the invasion into Cuba. Tampa had the transportation system, it had the port, and it had the hotel, all thanks to a railroad tycoon with an eye for luxury and logistics, Henry B. Plant. Henry Plant had visited Florida in the mid-19th century, and soon he recognized the potential for his railroad and shipping business to expand. Plant's steamships and railroads moved passengers and cargo along the U.S. East Coast throughout the South and most of the Southeast United States. His railroads, steamship lines, and freight companies came to dominate the Gulf Coast of Florida. Plant was instrumental in creating Port Tampa's deep water docks that allowed for steamship passengers and freight to arrive in Tampa. From the port, Plant built a rail line providing easier access to Tampa and points beyond. The ultimate jewel in the Plant system crown was the Tampa Bay Hotel, a Moorish revival palace unlike anything else in the South. Completed in 1891, it wasn't just a hotel, it was a statement. The Tampa Bay Hotel was envisioned by Plant as a luxury resort designed to attract wealthy northeastern tourists to Florida's Gulf Coast. The building itself stretched a quarter-mile long, covering about 6 acres and containing over 500 rooms. Beyond its Moorish revival grandeur, the hotel's grounds included 150 acres of landscaped gardens, recreational facilities, and service buildings. In the months leading toward the declaration of war with Spain, Plant recognized the opportunity for his plant system and Tampa to serve his country's needs. With encouragement from Plant, Tampa, with its deep water port and rail connections, was chosen as the primary embarkation point for troops heading to Cuba, and the hotel became the center of planning and staging for the U.S. Army's Fifth Corps. General William Rufus Shafter established his command headquarters in the hotel, and its leisurely verandas and ballrooms filled with military staff, war correspondents, and foreign observers. Indeed, the weeks between the declaration of war and when the Army received invasion orders was deemed the rocking chair period of the war. One of the generals staying at the hotel noted, "Only God knows why Plant built a hotel here, but thank God he did." Among the better-known hotel guests was Colonel Theodore Roosevelt, whose Rough Riders camped at various locations around the Tampa Bay area. In addition, journalists covering the war stayed at the Tampa Bay Hotel, including artist Frederick Remington, who covered the war for Harper's Weekly. The hotel's transformation during the Spanish-American War marked a pivotal moment in both Tampa's and the hotel's history. What had been a symbol of luxury and leisure became a place of national significance, tying the local community to the unfolding events of the American imperial expansion. Though most of the soldiers never stayed in the hotel itself, the presence of high-ranking officers, politicians, and journalists turned the site into a strategic nerve center. The Tampa Bay Hotel remained a working hotel until 1932, but its brief role in the war left a lasting legacy. Today, it is preserved as part of the University of Tampa, with the Henry B. Plant Museum interpreting its important wartime and cultural past. I will get back to the story in a moment. Before I started Journeys Through History, I was a full-time educator. Then, the teaching contract stopped being offered, and I realized at my age I may never find a full-time teaching position again. But I also knew I was far from done. So now I share my passion for history and the arts and my love of storytelling through my YouTube channel. I hope you'll join me for more journeys through history. Like and subscribe to the channel, and consider donating to help us bring you more stories like this. Now, let's get back to this story. Next, we're on to Port Tampa. Today, if you ask for Port Tampa, the response is more than likely to point you in the direction of Port Tampa Bay, home to the modern cruise terminal, tourist destinations, and channel-side residential and business district. The area is located approximately 1.5 miles from the Tampa Bay Hotel on the eastern side of downtown Tampa, and well worth the visit. But for our journey, we need to head south and west, following the rail line extension created by Henry Plant. From the hotel, we'll follow the route of the soldiers down to Port Tampa, the end of the rail line. Located about 10 miles from downtown on the southwestern edge of the Tampa Peninsula, today Port Tampa consists of residential areas, parks, and industrial ports. Port Tampa was established in the 1880s as a strategic deep-water port by Henry Plant. Plant extended his railroad lines from central Florida to this newly developed port, circumventing the then shallow waters of Tampa Bay that limited access for large ships. By connecting Port Tampa with the rest of his transportation empire, including his luxurious Tampa Bay Hotel, Plant transformed the once remote area into a vital commercial and military hub. The port quickly became instrumental for shipping Florida citrus and phosphate, as well as receiving mail and passengers via steamship from Cuba and Key West. As tensions between the United States and Spain escalated in the 1890s, Port Tampa assumed growing military importance. When the Spanish-American War broke out, and with the encouragement from Henry Plant, the U.S. Army chose Port Tampa as its principal point of embarkation for troops and supplies bound for Cuba. The presence of Plant's rail and steamship infrastructure made the port ideally suited to handle the rapid mobilization of the Army's Fifth Corps. In the spring and summer of 1898, over 30,000 troops passed through Port Tampa, including the Rough Riders and Buffalo Soldiers. The area buzzed with military activity, and ships loaded with men, horses, weapons, and munitions crowded the port's wharves. Troops camped in open fields, trained in the heat, and waited for their orders. During the wartime buildup, Port Tampa became a place of national attention and local upheaval. Journalists, Red Cross nurses, politicians, and military personnel flooded into the area. The port's hotels and makeshift encampments swelled with people, and the logistical challenge of feeding, housing, and managing thousands of troops became clear. Racial tensions also flared as soldiers from segregated regiments faced hostility in the surrounding communities, even as they prepared to fight overseas. Despite these problems, Port Tampa played a crucial role in the war effort, serving as the last point of American soil many American soldiers touched before embarking on their journey to Cuba and into the pages of history. For history travelers and curious minds alike, the Tampa Bay area offers a journey to places where the landscapes of history tell stories of revolution, resilience, and the beginnings of American empire.